Is more important to us than sun. Without sun's heat and light, life Earth is merely a lifeless ball of ice-coated rock. It not only warms our oceans, stirs our atmosphere, generates climate patterns, but also provide energies to the fast-growing plants that gives us food and oxygen so that the life can pertain on this earth. Let's celebrate the star of ours. Let's celebrate the sun.
Namaskar, very good morning. The sun has been such a wonderful life giving force to all the resources across the world. That is the importance that the sun has. Without the sun, there would be no resources and perhaps no economy. It is that important life giving force.
Events like this and collaborations such as these definitely keeps the curiosity ignited and aflame. It also brings to light scientific facts as well as a belief in scientific values and principles and learning from each other. Shiv Nadar University student may also learn from a school student. So the reciprocal learning which happens, I think there's no substitute for that. So this whole collaborative effort, this platform which is there,
For the universe, the sun is an ordinary star, one of about 100 billion in our galaxy, the Milky Way. But for us on Earth, the sun has extremely important influences on our planet. It drives weather, ocean currents, seasons, and climate, and makes plant life possible through photosynthesis. It forms a part of the glorious history of the world and drives socio-economic patterns across the globe. Good evening to one and all. We would like to express our gratitude to all the students, teachers, and scientists who have joined us today in the open discussion session for Project X, a part of EBC 2021. I am Aditi Rai along with Shambhavi Singh. Students of Vidyagyan Leadership Academy Sitapur are your hosts for the day. With an objective to proliferate a wider understanding and deeper insights into our sun, we would like to welcome you to the Educational Boot Camp 2021, a collaborative effort of Shiv Nadar School and the Indian Youth Nuclear Society. We would like to mention the unwavering support from Shiv Nadar University and Vidyagyan School, who are our hosting partners for the event. We welcome the educators and students from esteemed institutions. DAV Ambuja Vidyaniketan, Solan, Himachal Pradesh, Podar International School, Bal Bharti Public School, Noida, Sanskriti School, New Delhi, Podar International School, and the Genesis Global School. Let us celebrate the sun, a month long, fun filled, cross disciplinary event that encompasses inter school competitions that foster problem solving and scientific writing skills, and also involving interdisciplinary learning and project based research paper writing challenges. These individual events include poster making, poem writing, slogans and taglines, doodles, memes, and cartoons, comic strips. In addition to these, a research based project, Project X, which is open for students from grade 9 right up to the university level. During the culmination of the event from 16 to 18 December, scientists from ITER, France and Saint Michael Observatoire, France, and educators from around the globe will mentor and interact with the students. A virtual visit to the world's largest fusion reactor of ITER, France, is also planned. I'm personally eagerly looking forward to this one. And last but not the least, we have the Knowledge Podcast, where students will join eminent scientists, experts, and panelists from various fields to discuss the current understanding of the sun and the challenges ahead. The winning team of EBC'21 will be awarded with Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Fellowship, a prestigious fellowship from IYNS. This reminds me, Shambhavi, you have been a part of our winning team last year. We would love for you to share your experience during the previous edition of EBC and what you are looking forward to this year.
Thank you, Aditi. So, I'm a student of grade 11th from Vidyagyan Leadership Academy, Sitapur, and was the team leader of the winning group of last year's boot camp. We, the team of three, presented our idea on the topic Study of Role of Hydrogen-Based Society under the guidance of Dr. Adit Ramanath Krishnan and Dr. Mayank. It was a great opportunity participating in the camp. We got to learn a lot while researching on the topic. It also boosted the spirit of teamwork in us. My heartiest thanks goes to Ma'am Vinita for providing us the opportunity to interact with Dr. Nitindra, the president of IYNS, and other intellectuals too. And I expect the same exchange of knowledge and ideas this year also to help enrich our brains and the scientific zeal. Thanks once again to the IYNS team.
Thank you so much, Shambhavi. I'm eagerly looking forward to experiencing all that you have mentioned and much more this year. It was so heartening to have so many of you yesterday with us when we learned how to write a technical paper from Dr. Nitindra. We hope it turned out to be as insightful for you as it was for us.
Today's session will hold space for all of you to share your ideas around Project X and get them streamlined from our experts here. This will enable you to get your doubts clarified and work towards communicating your brilliant ideas effectively.
I would now like to invite Ms. Vinny Mathur, Associate Dean, Shiv Nadar I would now like to invite Ms. Vinny Mathur, Associate Dean, Shiv Nadar University, to address the audience and open today's discussion.
Thank you so much, Aditi and Shambhavi. You were brilliant. It's a pleasure being here on this platform. I am now working as DGM Marketing and Communications, and I've moved on from my Associate Dean role. But nevertheless, student community is very close to my heart. And I'm more than privileged to, be inviting you all to opening this evening session. And as everyone knows, the love for science just develops more and more year after year, ever since Vinita ma'am has launched this educational boot camp along with the EBC team. And I heartily welcome Dr. Nitindra Singh, who's a fusion scientist and also the president of IYNS, as Shambhavi just mentioned. To all of you who are listening to us, science is a part of our daily life. It's something that we really can't do without. Everything we do, everything we deal with it is right from cooking or playing a ball or growing a garden or understanding new technologies or going to space. Understanding science helps us appreciate and relate to the world around us. And what best than having science in your own bedroom or your own drawing room or your own classroom. Science education actually teaches children to be more just the basics of geology. We want you to explore more. And the idea of doing these EBCs is just to let your horizons open up to much more than what is in the textbook. And as you all know, Shiv Nadar School and University propagates out of the box learning. And this is exactly a step towards that. Yesterday's session, which I personally attended, was absolutely amazing. The research writing, technical paper writing workshop, and so many of my students from the university attended it and found it absolutely wonderful. So I thank you, sir, for being a part of this. I think your time and your commitment and your passion be with us year after year will not only motivate the students to do better and yes, become scientists, because I think scientists are the important future of the world. from whatever is happening around today in this, corona times. I think the one profession which is going to go forever and ever is, of course, being a great scientist. And without them, we would not be able to predict the weather or the earthquakes or the global warming or the viruses or diseases. Because there's so much happening. So thank you, everyone. And please do participate in all the competitions which EBC team has lined up for you all. Spend your Sunday evening or your evenings, designing comic strips, participating in competitions. Log onto the website, log onto the Instagram pages, see what you can be a part of. Involve your community, involve your classrooms, involve your teachers, involve your cousins, your neighbors, because this is the time to actually put in your mind and enjoy this 1 month of, learning more about the most special star, which is the sun. So thank you everyone for being here, for being a part of this. Kudos to BBC team. Congratulations, Vinita ma'am, Rachna ma'am, all the other teachers who are involved. We at the university are privileged to be a part of this and looking forward to the rocking times ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your words. Now, I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Nitindra Singh as our expert for today. Dr. Nitindra is the founder and the president of the Indian Youth Nuclear Society and is also a nuclear safety engineer at ITER organization. His research interests include nuclear safety and design, reactor thermal hydraulics, and nuclear severe accidents. Please accept our warmest welcome. Before we hand it over to our experts to share their opening comments, let's set some ground rules. You may raise your virtual hand to speak, share your doubts in the chat box, keep the microphone muted if you do not want to speak, and to make your presence felt, turn on the video. Participants are now requested to rename themselves with their names, underscore the names of the school or university they represent. We are holding the floor now so that you will have 30 seconds to do so. Thank you, everyone. Now, we request our experts to share their opening comments on what fascinates them about the sun and what they are looking forward into today's discussion. After which, we'll open the space for our participants to share their questions, doubts, and thoughts. Now, we hand it over to Dr. Nitindra.
Thank you, Aditi and Shambhavi. And thank you, Vinny, for these amazing words. I think I'll open with the Shambhavi's participation. I still remember the youth parliament we had last year, and I must admit Shambhavi was really brilliant to mark her presence and the wonderful discussion and argument she has gave, and that's what of course led the team to win. And that sort of participation is always encouraging for us as well, when you want to interact with more kids and you find the people are really inquisitive, it really helps us. And Vinny has nicely mentioned that science is all around us, and as I mentioned yesterday as well, it's not only science, everything around us, it's amalgamation of science, arts, engineering, everything. For example, even if you see a painting, it's an art form, but you can appreciate it more if you know the science behind it. Maybe the combination of colors, maybe the depth, or maybe the different aspects of science associated with it. For an example, I think all of us really loves about the bird peacock. It is the national bird of India as well. But I don't know, many of you know that the blue and green color we see in the peacock feather, they are mainly because of the nanoparticle forms of the color. So if you know about it, then you feel like, wow. So it's all about the perception and observation we do. And this year's boot camp is mainly focused on the observations, and that's where the sun came into the picture. And as Dr. Ratnashari envisioned, it is one of the closest and mystic star we have. because of course our life is dependent on it. So it will be nice to understand and really observe it. And that's what it is all about. And along with all other engagements, research and scientific projects are one of the unique part of this year's boot camp, and we encourage all the students from all these streams to come together and find out something new. So today's session will mainly be about having all your queries related to anything you feel like. You can pose it to me and I'll try to answer them as much as I can. And so I look forward for that. Thank you all of you for joining.
Thank you for your words, sir. Now we open the floor for our participants to raise their hand and wait for their turn to ask questions.
Hi, Siddharth. You can unmute yourself and ask the question.
Yes, sir. So my question was, I'm not doing the project X, I'm doing the individual project. So what's the deadline for that? When do we have to submit?
I think deadline for all the projects is December 5th. By then you have to submit your paper on any project you are doing.
Okay.
And all this detail is also available on the website, so you can go and visit the website as well.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that's the thing.
I think, Dr. Nitindra, it's 5th December.
5th December, yes.
Yeah, I think so. It is written on the website, but was just thinking that, yeah, so we have 1 week almost.
Yeah, for all events, for individual research-based project, for all the events, the deadline is 5th December.
And are any digital works allowed, like Word document or Canva or something?
For the research projects?
Yes.
So for the research project, you are supposed to submit 1 paper, that's for sure. And if you want to complement it with any digital work you want, then yes, you may. But we are expecting at least 1 paper, because this is one of the notion we came up with, that we want students to learn how to express their scientific understanding in terms of a writing format, because it in general, in practical life, it is not always possible for you to interact with everyone whom you want to tell about your idea or about your thoughts. And these publications helps it to do it. And that's why we wanted you to understand how to produce a good publication. So this is of course expected, but of course you can complement it with your presentation, with video lecture or anything you want. But the paper is the must submission.
Yeah, the paper, can we write it as a Word document and submit?
Oh yeah, of course, of course.
Okay.
The paper doesn't mean the paper. It means the article.
Yeah, the article, it was written in the website that only handmade works are allowed. So yeah.
I don't know, but I'll ask my team. IT person is there. He'll check if that sort of thing is mentioned. But it is basically the electronic version of your article.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you for your question, Siddharth. Anish, you're here. You've raised your hand. Do you want to turn your audio on and ask?
Yeah, the research-based project. Can we type it?
Type means type. Of course,
Yeah.
you can type it.
That's my only question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Anish. Now I think Aditi has a question. Aditi, you can go ahead and ask your question to Sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, I'm very curious to know what is the X factor that you are looking forward to in Project X, and how should students plan toward it?
Oh yeah, this is really nice. So Project X is very different from other project, and the idea behind Project X, or as you have mentioned, the X factor, is like we are really looking for innovative idea or thought or anything new you can come up with. And when I say new, it doesn't means like, you didn't find something else, so you come up with something. No. When I say new means globally, it should be completely new. It should be as novel as your own idea, and it should be well researched that it has not been pursued anywhere else in the world. So that's what we are looking forward. And this need not to be related to the sun as well. Like it may or may not be related to sun. It can be anything new you feel like to share, and it is not related to any particular field. It can be anything you come up with, maybe a economic theory, or maybe a biological project, or an engineering design, or anything you feel like, anything you think of. It has to be really new. And the idea behind the evaluation of project is will be like really critical. It will be really scrutinized to find that particular new thing. And let me tell you, um, there is no compulsion that we will find or we will choose one. If we find none is up to that mark, then we will not be going to find one particular. Okay, there's no obligation specifically for project X that we have to have choose one. No. So if we find like one which is the best, then of course we will. Maybe we find like 5 completely new one, then we'll definitely try to incorporate all 5 of them into the session. But it has to be like completely out of the box project. And I'll give you an example. If you are really targeting to pursue project X, you have to think in a very different manner. I'll give you an example. For example, all of you might know Burj Khalifa, okay? The building, the tallest building so far in Dubai, very famous and things like that. And now imagine if you find, or if you could connect how sun is directly and indirectly affecting Burj Khalifa. Okay, so this is something out of the box thinking. Okay, if you can take this and you can pursue, and then you'll be rejected because I already know how it is affecting. But this is just an idea I'm giving you. Like you have to think in such a manner that nobody is thinking, and then study behind what is the factor, what is the science, what is the economics, anything you come up with. So that's the idea with Project X. That is something we are looking forward. Like when you speak about the idea which you want to pursue in Project X, everyone should be amazed by just with the idea itself. And when you read it, then of course you'll find something new. So that makes Project X different from rest of the things. So of course it will require a different way of thinking, different way of collaboration, different way of digging deep into, and that's what we are looking forward with the Project X.
Thank you, sir.
Shambhavi, I think you can go ahead.
Yes, ma'am. So, sir, since you mentioned carrying out rigorous research for the project, so upon choosing a topic, what are some reliable sources of research one must choose in order to get going?
Yeah, this is amazing. You have rightly mentioned. Usually what happens when we get some sort of projects or some competitions or some engagements in our school, we take it so lightly that okay, I can do it whatever I want. And the first thing first, you Google it, and the first link appears is the Wikipedia. You just read about it and go for the references and things like that. But that is not the idea with the projects we are looking for. And frankly, specifically when you write a research paper, there is a term called plagiarism, or plagiarism, the way you pronounce it. but that means like you have copied your stuff from somewhere to use it. That is not at all acceptable in the projects when I'm mentioning. And when you say like you need some references, then always you always have resources, and I think your mentors and your teachers can help you with that. For example, if you want to know about the sun and you want to go into deep about it, maybe in the form of astronomical body, you may go to the website which is like the planetarium website, or Indian Institute of Science website, or things like that. Maybe you can choose NASA to find your resources. And there are also scientific publication domain, but I don't know how accessible they are to your institution, but you can choose like Science Direct or the Nature publications, or there are many other publication houses to go and then read articles directly. Because you need to understand, when you are going to pursue a research for any particular topic, it is really important to have the credible sources. Because if you just like that you know read something somewhere, maybe from newspaper, maybe from Wikipedia, they are the general information center. You may find the information, but you may not find the logical argument over there. So when you are posting your article or written projects to be done, you need to understand the logical discussion over that, or in support of it. So yeah, there are these are the platforms you can find out, maybe depending on your topics, of course.
Okay, so thank you.
Now we'd request other participants to ask their questions if they have. Aditi and Shambhavi have raised some interesting questions for all of us. Would anyone else want to ask? Even if you want to share something that you're thinking around, you can go ahead and share that. Okay. So I think if anyone doesn't have a question yet, so I'd like to ask a question myself.
Oh, please.
So essentially my question is, since you mentioned the role of the teacher mentors, so what do you think should be, like how can they support the students outside of the technical help that they provide for the subject? What is the role of a mentor in terms of, because research is quite an intensive process, so it does require heart and soul to be put into it. So what sort of support do you think a mentor or here our teachers have to play in this process?
I think I'll begin with an example. So when I did my PhD, for example, so my boss is an amazing person, and he's one of the famous. He's the person who's famous for being strict, you know. But I tell you, he has a different side. He always asked me, okay, this is your baby, you take care of it, and you do whatever you want to do. And that's what is needed as a mentor to tell your students, like you have the freedom to do anything you want. But you know, these words are very responsible words when you say. Why? Because if something goes wrong, then who will take care of it? And that's where the real role of mentors come. So when you give a freedom to students, just be ready as a support that if something goes sideways, you will be there to take care of it. So that is one. Secondly, it's not always the scientific understanding or scientific misunderstanding which is restricting any student or any researcher to, you know, stay back. There are always associated issues, maybe, you know, maybe independent thoughts, maybe the psychological matters, maybe the pressure, peer pressure, or different sort of pressures we have around. So it and somehow it so happened like teachers are able to help out with the technical thing, but the rest of the things are still missing, maybe because of many reasons. But as a mentor, you need to understand what is the environment he is in, what is the situation he is dealing with, and what is the direction of his thoughts, where they are going related to project, and then you can channelize them together and to come up with something new. But one thing I would like mentors to avoid, which is really important here, that somehow it so happen like a student come to you with an idea, you find it interesting, but there might be some conflict, so you may would like to twist it because you feel, no, this is like this, or this should be done in this manner. But instead of doing that, I would like mentors to encourage students, okay, tell us about that in detail, and then you try to understand it first, that what is his perception about the idea, and then see if it is practically proceed, you can proceed with that or not. Or maybe if you want more analysis or more literature review to proceed further, that sort of thing is something mentors should really do, instead of uh, because it's not I'm not blaming the teachers, it's like because we have been so experienced that we feel, okay, no, this is not good, or this may not be. So in a way, it's okay to have your own perception, but we as a mentors has a responsibility to highlight and emphasize their perception as well. And I would really love mentors to be encouraging their students to do the mistakes, because this is one of the best way to learn. When you do mistakes by yourself and then it hits you back, it's something you learn about it. Okay, so even if, for example, a student is coming up to you and maybe coming up with an idea or a topic that I want to pursue it, and you find it, okay, this may not be correct, but instead of stopping it, no, this is not correct, do it this way, you just encourage him to go a little bit deeper, understand, and tell him that this is what my feeling, I may find it this way, but the idea of taking it further, or the responsibility of taking it further, should be his or hers, so that even if he got successful, then he will know why he is successful, and if he failed, then he should know that why he failed. So this is something I feel is specifically for the mentors.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing, sir. I think, in fact, it does give us an idea to explore beyond what our personal bias is, as you said, because that comes with a lot of experience. I mean, really, this will give us the opportunity to be more courageous and brave and let our students
Yeah,
explore. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts.
pleasure.
Yeah, I think Purnima ma'am, you've raised your hand. You want to go ahead and ask your question. Would love if you could turn on your video as well. Thank you. Oh, hi Purnima. Oh, that's a student.
Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Greetings of the day, everyone. So, sir, I have a question, and that is, what excites you about research, especially the sun?
So if you ask me, there are n numbers of things which excites me particularly, and this is since my childhood. Maybe I would like to take a quick story here. I'm a man of stories. So in the beginning, when I was kid, everyone used to ask me, what do you want to become? And I was always like, I want to become a scientist. Okay. And back in mind, it was like, everyone has this fantasy of becoming astronomer, because that's what the most fascinating thing we see. But in reality, that it's not your cup of tea. Okay. So that's how it started. I knew it's not possible for me, but I wanted to. So somehow, I'll find some fields where I can stay associated with that. And eventually, when I was learning, I was in the era where two things were quite famous and quite challenging, and I would like to highlight, they were nanotechnology and the nuclear technology. And nanotechnology, and because there were so many new things coming up, in fact, the graphene, the Buckminster's models, and which were like people were exploring globally. And the third thing, which was very prominent in those times, was the genetic research. And I am not a fan of bio. And at that point of time, I used to afraid of bio, frankly speaking. And you won't believe, but until class, in fact, until my class 12th, the only thing in biology I knew was the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of the cell. That's it. And other than that, everything was, no, not possible. So, but these were really fascinated. They were really fascinating thing for me, and I always used to read about them, frankly. So it wasn't like that I'm afraid, so I'll stay away. But it's like when it comes to exams, I would never choose bio. So that's how I developed things. But when you read, you find every day you read something new, and every day you find something new, something interesting, and your interest keeps on evolving. So when I was pursuing my bachelor's, I fine-tuned my interest into nanotechnology and nuclear, because at that point of time, the Large Hadron Collider at CERN was in great news because of the discovery of new particles and standard model realization and things like that. When I finished, I had to choose. And when I was given an opportunity, because I got selected for both nuclear and nano. So when I was given an opportunity to choose, I chose nuclear, because somehow, if you follow the past in terms of, people say Big Bang was the beginning or things like that, then everything is like, the subatomic particles are combining together. So ultimately there were energies and particles forming together and, evolving with time. And the nuclear is something which we can understand more easily. Okay, if you go deep, there is still the matter of research. So the nuclear level is something which we can deal with it, and we can use it for many of our practical application in our lives. And that's how all of the things surrounding nuclear then always interest made me an interest of. And now I can tell you that now I love biology as well. Okay, then I studied genetics as well. I studied the brain functioning, the cancer therapy, the treatment, everything about whatever I can. In fact, I participated in one of the university competition long back, and where I defended the what you call the AIDS treatment, the treatments for the AIDS using the T-shell crunches. This was a very different phenomena. So I did that. So idea of interest is like for me, as I was mentioning yesterday as well, interest can be many, but you can only identify whether it's interesting for you or not when you interact with that interest. So for you, it is really important to read, to interact, to see around, and then it will always be keep encouraging you. And as I was giving you all these examples, you can see I read all of it, because you don't know after a while it becomes like there's no difference between a science and engineering and architecture, a biology, economics. Everything revolves around together. And that's where things keep on coming into the picture. And to add it more, I love economics as well now. Earlier I was afraid of it because no, not possible. I love economics now because now you realize that the practical world is basically governed by the economics. So if you don't know about it, it's very difficult. And I'll give you an example. After the Fukushima accident, Fukushima nuclear accident took place in March 2011, the nuclear industry is declining. It's in declining phase. And most of the people will argue, okay, it was the safety concern, it was this and that, blah, blah. But I'll tell you the fact, it's not the safety concern, because the machine was working fine. When the natural calamity occurred, the machine got shut down, everything was in place. the things which were not in place, we have identified and these have been rectified. And there was a mismanagement, which was mainly because of the economics. And if you see, even after the accident, there are only two things which are declining the nuclear industry. One was, of course, the perception of risk, which nobody targeted, so it became a big myth. But second thing is economy. Everyone, because the establishment of nuclear facility takes a big input capital, which was making it, making it difficult for the people to put in, considering the perception of risk we have. So somehow everything in the end becomes, the different portion of one plate. So when we talk about nuclear energy, we feel like it's a brilliant energy and we are doing this and that, but somehow it is connecting to economy as well. Another example is the fusion reactor, which is under construction at ITER site, the ITER. Basically, it's a scientific problem. We want to have a fusion reaction, a sustainable fusion reaction at such a large scale that we can harness the electricity out of it. But this is a scientific problem. You can say, okay, but to realize it, you need a lot of funds. You need a lot of money to get these things done. Then you one man or one country cannot have that sort of money. So people came together to do that. So now you are having science, you are having engineering and technology, research, and your nations coming together, and economics. So as many things as you can imagine coming together. So for me, like, all of this inspires me to stay put in the area of research, because this is something which keep on connecting all the dots around. If you get my point.
Yes, sir, got it. Thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Thank you for your question, Purnima. I think Anita ma'am has been raising their hand. Ma'am, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
I'm very sorry for video off because of poor internet. Also, I just want to add what Dr. Nitindra said for your question, Dilshin, ma'am. So when we say mentor, it means mentor also has to look after that. If the child has some idea and if he is not able to narrow down, you can help to narrow down the research question. That is the role what mentor is supposed to do. Suppose the child is taking 2-3 variables, and if the research question has to be, with 2 variables only, one dependent, one independent, etc. So narrowing down of question is your responsibility. Secondly, when you say that mentor, these kids are small, we need to explain them to put bibliography, and you just need to little bit handhold that what actually happens if you don't do research and if you don't reference. So importance of referencing. So these are the points the children will lose marks if they don't do. So they are taking some formula from somewhere and they are not writing from there. So that's it. Thank you. Over to you, Dilshin.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think Sudipta sir has raised his hand. Sir, do you want to go ahead and ask your question?
Thank you, ma'am. Am I audible? Okay.
Yes.
Sir, I have 2 questions. The first is that during the present times, at present, for our students, how important is an interdisciplinary approach to their learning important for their future? And my second question will be a little personal, because right now I'm reading a little bit of modern consciousness studies, like David Chalmers of the, I think, New York Mind Brain Institute and others. So it just happened to me that something like the solar system, before the advent of plants or animals, where nobody was watching the solar system, how could it have existed? Like, is the sun or something that nobody is watching or observing conscious, or of itself? Can the sun be conscious? So this is a take from the modern consciousness studies in the Indian context. I admit that it is a very Indian question. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sudeep. And I think both of the questions are interesting, and I'll take one by one. So first, you mentioned like in present times. I would say present times it's not necessary to add here because as I said, I'm a big fan of Vinci, and 500 years back he was doing everything together. And in the beginning, as you know, in the beginning we don't realize because we don't know anything, and if you don't know the overall picture, it's very difficult for you to decide, what's going on there. And globally the system is like we cannot teach everything to everyone. Okay, this is something which we have understood and we have learned as well, because of so many, of course, limitations. So, and that's how we decide to demarcate, like if person want to pursue this, they can forward this, depending on the more interesting part they can pursue likewise. However, I feel that if you really want to understand, or really you want to solve some issue, you can never do it without an interdisciplinary thing. And I think I need not to say anything about it, because you yourself can feel around. You pick any item around you, or anything you see around, you pick any of it, and you can break it down, like what part can be done by which person. For example, if you see everyone is having a car, for example, car cannot be manufactured by just a car designer. You need a person who is expert in material, what sort of material should be used, what sort of paint should be used. Why I'm mentioning paint, for example, if you use normal paint in Delhi, it's perfectly okay, but you use the normal paint in Mumbai, it will be disaster, because Mumbai is having a salty, humid environment. Your normal car, normal paint will not survive even for an year. So you need a chemist to take care of the chemistry of the paint. You need a material person who can understand the integrity of your car. You need a mechanical engineer to design your power transfer. So everything is interdisciplinary object, whatever you see around. So it is always good. Earlier in earlier those, the thing was like, if you have understanding of one particular thing and you are expert in one thing, you can join the team and you can come up with something, or whatever objective you are pursuing. I think these days it becomes difficult, because if you don't understand the other part, then it affects your understanding as well. And that's why it is really nice to become an interdisciplinary person. And when I'm saying this, you will realize like there are new things coming up in the market. Earlier we were having limited professions. Now we have a dedicated creative professions as well. For example, if you want to become a science communicator, then you not only have to have an understanding of science and technology, you should have an understanding of how to shoot the video, or how to take a video, how to edit the video, how to upload the system, and how to make sure that your firewalls, your cyber security is taking care of that video as well. Now, if you are a mechanical engineer, or if you're a dumb guy like me, then you don't understand anything. So it's always good these days, specifically when things are evolving and we are going in an era where we have so many new things coming up together. It's always good to have the interdisciplinary education, interdisciplinary interactions as much as possible. So that's what I feel. And this is specifically for all the students who are here. I would like to emphasize that you may like maths, science, economics, or painting, but there's no harm in learning other things around. And I tell you, this will not only improve your communication skill, it will also improve your confidence, your own understanding. and the perception about any particular thing. And I'll give you an example. Even if you, for example, you might love sports, okay, but you don't like to study at all, you don't like physics, math, science, doesn't matter. But when you do sports, okay, for example, you love to play cricket, very famous game in India, everyone loves playing cricket. So if you love playing cricket, play cricket as much as you want, but just don't play, understand it as well. Like when you stroke it back, how you should stroke it back to get the maximum output, without the, I mean, the minimum input. Just a flick can get you more runs, or you really need to put it hard to get more runs. Try to understand it, and once you understand this part, this is all about science. And I'm pretty sure when you'll get into such problems by your own, then you'll try to find solutions on your own as well. And this will give you so many questions to break your teacher's head instead. Like poke them up that we are not getting an answer to this. And that's where this interdisciplinary thing is coming. It's not just one thing. And I feel like you should pursue that sort of approach, like inquisitiveness, observation. You see, don't see around, just observe everything what you do. Even while you're walking, you might have seen, like you're walking, your walk changes when you have a rainy season or a summer season, everything. But you need to understand it. Like in summers you feel hot, you feel so sweaty that your walk may change because of the biology inside. But in rainy season it may not be the case, but it will change because of your slipperiness of the floor, because of the film formation, the fine film forming between your shoes and the floor. So even if the thing is the same, the changing of walk, but the phenomena is different, and you might not realize it and naturally without observing it. So that sort of thing you need to follow. And that's where I think interdisciplinary education is really must. And even if we are not able to read all of it, at least discuss with whosoever you feel like. Discussion is amazing, so go for it. Coming to the second part of the question, which was more of the consciousness, this is something I would say it's a philosophical thing, and it's interesting. I tell you how. So if you simply follow the formation of material, then we are nothing but the energy which changed into the different type of matters. You can name them any, the dark matter, the matter, and things like that. So everything was evolving with the time dimension, and somehow we got some combinations. Okay, you can put it in standard model or maybe beyond it, it's up to you. Because for me it is still evolving, because we still have a limited understanding. Okay, so if you follow this, the new particles and things like that is coming. I'll give you a simple example. A human body is made up of some cells, okay, and if you see like your laptop, for example, it is also made up of some elements. And if you break it down, all these cells and all these big elements, you will come up, you will reach directly to the combinations of elements we have in your periodic table. Now you behave something which has a conscious, but laptop behaves something which don't have a conscious. Okay, but if you want to include a third element, I would like to bring in the humanoids, the human robots, which we say. They also behave in some manner which may or may not have conscious. So the conscious is something which is still, I would say, not we are not able to understand it. But in terms of science, if you see, it is nothing but the combination of all these materials we have, in all these elements which we have in periodic table. Now the complexity is how they interact is something giving rise to this particular conscious in all these three items if we think of. And this combination is or this interaction is something which we are still fail to understand. And if you see like the research which is still ongoing at CERN and many other places, this interaction, to understand this interaction, they are trying to dig in more deep. Or the interaction which we are following at ether, which is the fusion taking place, that's also the interaction which we are trying to replicate here to understand how it basically behaves. And if you remember, I was mentioning that we know the sun has the magnetic field, but we exactly don't know how it has. And that's why for me, if you ask me, understanding the consciousness before we existed, it's something I'll still say it's a matter of our limited understanding, because this is also the combination of limited elements which we have on this planet only. Maybe there could be a consciousness existing in the solar system, maybe in the galaxy as well, but with this limited element combination, I don't think I am able to understand it. Maybe if we had some other body which is having more combination or more elements in this thing, maybe they can understand. So I would take this as an open-ended question for the time being.
Thank you so very much, sir.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nitin. It was really nice to listen all this. Dilshin ma'am, is there any more question? Because we have 4 minutes yet. So please
Sure,
give
ma'am.
chance to someone who is asking first time.
Yes, ma'am. I think Jyoti has raised their hand. Jyoti, do you want to go ahead and ask your question? Would be great if you can turn on your video as well. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. So, what do you think is the future of sustainable fuel internationally, with many countries having pledged to make a switch in the coming 10 years?
I mean, this is the brilliant question, and I want to refer back to Shambhavi. Last year, they were mentioning and highlighting the importance of hydrogen as a fuel, and I would suggest it is a fuel. Okay, let me put it in this way. Fuel for what application you are asking is one of the things you need to understand before, like the requirement and importance of the fuel. For example, if you ask me like the fuel for electricity production, then I would go for nuclear as the baseload capacity and other renewables together complementing it for the electricity production. But if you are asking me for the fuel for the transportation, then of course I would say, okay, electricity and hydrogen are really promising aspects. And hydrogen is something really new technology, and this is one of the important fuel we have these days. But I would also like to highlight that we should explore more on biofuels. And this is something which we somehow missed. And I tell you, when I was kid, this Jethrofa plant was very much in news, that everyone is now able to have a biofuel out of it, but somewhere it is still lagging. And in due course of time, when the importance of biofuel was realized, people realized that we can make biofuel using the algae as well. And the biofuel coming out of algae is more cleaner and can be used even in fine fuel applications, like in jet as a jet fuel and things like that. So for me, when you talk about climate change and you want to replace the fossils, you want to switch to low carbon energy sources, then I would say hydrogen is of course one, but we should also consider the biofuels in the regular applications. But for major applications like the electricity production, which is needed for your sustainable development, I would prefer to go to nuclear as the baseload capacity. And it is really promising one, and we should really argue about it. logically. So that's what I would like to say.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much, sir, for addressing all our questions. I'll just hand it over to Shambhavi now. Thank you. Shambhavi, you can turn on your video.
There was a technical glitch actually. So.
No problem. Go ahead.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir, for the enriching session. We hope that all of our participants today will spread the word and encourage others to attend all the events during the educational boot camp. The link for the feedback form as well as the IYNS websites is shared in the chat.
To conclude with, I would like to invite Mr. Sudipta Mahadani, physics educator at Vidyagyan Leadership Academy, Sitapur, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Aditi. Good evening, everyone. I would like to start the vote of thanks by reminiscing an old saying where it is told that when we turn our face towards the sun, all the shadows fall behind us. This evening, what we witnessed in the 1 hour or so proved without a shadow of doubt the validity of this simple yet profound statement. I would like to thank Dr. Nitindra for instilling in the students the essential spirit of inquiry, leading to so many innovations in the not so distant future. Thank you so much, sir. I would like to thank Ma'am Vinny Mathur for always being there, a fountain of inspiration. Thank you, ma'am. A big thanks to all the participating schools and esteemed educators, the SNF family, Team IYNS and Carriers. It's for you that the sun of knowledge shines. It's for you that the bright future beckons. I would like to thank all the students whose direct and indirect participation and enthusiasm, they form the bedrock of all our efforts. I would like to thank also the audience whose presence is like the presence of the planets around the sun. You make it all matter. Thank you all, one and all. Take care and shine brightly. Thank you and good night.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request everyone to please fill the feedback form as you leave. It will really help us plan future spaces for all of you. Thank you.